There's still 3 months before the city council signs off on Mayor Eric Adams' $102 billion budget. And leaders in Queens are vowing to fight for more funding to avoid cuts to education and youth programs.
That's right. Plus, LARR train service could be making a comeback between Kew Gardens and Forest Hill. So here to fill us in on a lot of the details is Queens Borough President Donovan Richards. So good morning to you, Borough President. Thank you so much for being here. We got to get you here at our new studio.
Exactly.
Now we're open for business.
Happy spring. Oh, you're open again. Good.
That's right. So before we get to all those stories more, I do want to begin with a serious note here, Borough President, here about this fatal shooting that happened at that smoke shop robbery on Jamaica Avenue in the middle of the day, broad daylight on Saturday. Is there any update, any arrests made in this shooting? What's the latest?
Well, the NYPD is doing what they do, and it's very unfortunate. First, my heart goes out to the family of this young man who lost his life. You know, these smoke shops are pervasive. They certainly have been targeted across the borough and city, and we continue to work with our law enforcement partners to strengthen communication with them, but to also try to put some things in place to prevent these sort of robberies from happening in the first place. But we got to take every one of these incidents seriously, and we're urging smoke shops to really tighten up because you are a target at this point.
Do you know if this smoke shop was an illegal smoke shop?
Well, most of the smoke shops are legal. They're not supposed to be selling, however, marijuana without a legal license.
Right.
So that's why a lot of these smoke shops get targeted, because they are dealing on the black market when it comes to cannabis, and they become easy targets for people out there looking to make quick cash.
Yeah, we were talking about that, right? Because a lot of them have a lot of cash on hand, and so we're seeing a lot of them get robbed at gunpoint. All right, so let's talk about some other instances of violence right now. This one specifically around schools continues to be an ongoing problem citywide. 2 teenagers stabbed about a block away from Jamaica High School. So is there an increased NYPD presence at that specific school? And is that enough, in your opinion, Borough President? What would you like to see happen here?
Well, let me start by saying that I'm proud of the work that Queens South is doing. We are down in crime in Queens South. However, one stabbing, one shooting is certainly too much. And I'm a former product of Jamaica High School. You know, stabbings were happening when I went there in 1997. So we have to continue to do more to make sure that after school programming is ramped up, because that's really what I'm hearing from a lot of the principals is they need that. We got to make sure that these kids have access to counseling. A lot of them went through a lot of trauma during this pandemic, and we got a lot of work to do to make sure that our teens have access to community centers, in which we are going to be announcing with the mayor over the course of the next few days, a new community center in Southeast Queens.
So what do you think of the students then that are fighting to have less security at their schools?
Well, it's a mixed bag. You know, what I would say is certainly students are not incorrect in saying that we need to see more than just school safety agents. We need to see the after school programming. We need to see investment in our schools. We want more programming. We want more CTE, career technical and education programming. So you need a mixture of both. And I would say that school safety can't resolve all the crime, because once again, they can't even really go outside the 2-block radius to make sure that teenagers are safe walking home from school. That's their job. That's PD's job.
Yeah, all right, let's talk about this. 2 firefighters injured last week during that fire at an e-bike shop sparked by these lithium-ion batteries. We keep talking about these. The latest data showing that New York has the highest number of fires caused by these batteries compared to any other state, right? We've heard from the fire commissioner, we've heard from the mayor about what can be done, but so many of these batteries still are out there, they exist, and they're not regulated. So what would you like to see happen? So
today, I believe the mayor is signing a package of bills which the city council has passed to ensure that we can rein in, especially the illegal batteries. You know, what I would say part of the challenge also is we don't have the infrastructure for charging in the city, and we really need to figure out ways collectively to come up with central located places where people can actually charge these batteries and get them out of the hallways of apartment buildings and homes, which are really causing this dangerous situation.
Yeah, let's switch gears and let's talk about LaGuardia. I mean, do you agree with Governor Hochul's decision to scrap the plans for the air train to LaGuardia and then opt for more buses instead?
So yes, I do, partially because most of us remember many of the infrastructure issues that happened in that specific community. Now, first of all, you have homeowners who incurred a lot of damage with the airport reconstruction of LaGuardia as it is, and many of those homeowners have not been made whole as of yet by the Port Authority. And then you add, remember when President Biden came here, the flooding that occurred in that community. So the question is, during a time when we're talking about budget cuts, what is our priority? Our priority has to fix many of the issues that have labored in the community for too long. And then on top of it, the bus is one solution, but I'm going to continue to call for a ferry to LaGuardia and the extension NNW train as well.
Well, yeah, so while we're talking about trains and extensions, LIRR service between Kew Gardens and Forest Hills, that could be making a comeback, right? As well as service between Penn Station and Queens. How soon can that actually all happen?
Well, we just met with the MTA, and I know they're putting together their priorities, but I would anticipate as we get through this budget season, there's going to be a lot of good news for Queens riders, and most of us followed the debacle. Yeah, this year. We followed the debacle at Jamaica Station when the LIRR and East Side Station access was opened up. So we're doing a lot of work to make sure that the LIRR runs more efficiently for Queens residents. And secondly, we're working a lot on ADA access. So we're going to be seeing a lot of upgrades to stations who historically have not had elevators for disabled residents.
Well, a lot is clearly happening in Queens, and we would love for you to join us here live in our studio to talk about more topics, of course. But thanks for being with us this morning, Borough President Donovan Richards.
See you in studio next month.
Next time.
We're going to hold you to your word.
All
right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Straight ahead.